You see, when someone hurts you intentionally, it is not merely an accident. It's a choice. They made a decision to cross your boundaries, to harm your spirit, and disrespect your dignity. And let me tell you something very clear. No one has the right to diminish who you are. No one has the authority to devalue your worth. When someone takes that step to hurt you on purpose, it's a reflection of their character, not yours. When someone hurts you intentionally, it's vital to grasp the gravity of that action. This isn't about misunderstanding or accidental harm. It's about a deliberate choice to inflict pain. And that choice reflects the condition of the heart and mind of the person who committed the act. You must understand that people are defined by their decisions, not their words. If someone has chosen to hurt you, especially knowingly, it speaks volumes about their character, their values, and how they view relationships. Now let's take a closer look at this. People often make excuses for those who hurt them, rationalizing the behavior with phrases like maybe they didn't mean it or they were just having a bad day. But the truth is, when someone knowingly crosses a line, there's intention behind it. Whether it's through harsh words, deceit, manipulation, or betrayal, intentional harm is a conscious decision. It's important to acknowledge this truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, because it brings clarity to the situation. You see, intentional harm doesn't just happen out of the blue. It usually follows patterns, revealing deeper issues in the relationship. Sometimes we ignore these signs, hoping that things will get better or that the person will change. But we must recognize that allowing someone to continually hurt us without consequence sends the message that their behavior is acceptable. And when we accept such behavior, it weakens our sense of self-worth and erodes our personal dignity. Now, here's where things get more complex. In relationships, whether personal or professional, we often feel pressure to keep the peace, to forgive quickly and move on. But I want you to understand something crucial. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Forgiveness is an internal process that allows you to release the bitterness or anger within your heart. It's for your benefit. It helps you heal emotionally and spiritually. But forgiving someone doesn't mean you have to welcome them back into your life or give them another chance to harm you. When someone intentionally hurts you, it's important to step back and ask yourself some hard questions. Why did they do it? What led them to think that it was okay to treat you that way? More importantly, how have they responded since? Have they truly shown remorse? Or are they offering empty apologies to win back your favor? You see, an apology without change is nothing more than manipulation. If they are truly sorry, their actions will reflect a sincere desire to make amends, not just to regain your trust, but to respect your boundaries and your value. So how do you navigate this? First, understand that recognizing intentional harm means recognizing that the person chose to hurt you. This awareness should trigger a process of self-reflection and boundary setting. Are you going to allow this behavior to continue? Are you willing to give this person another opportunity to cause you pain, knowing that they were fully aware of their actions the first time? It's critical to protect yourself from further harm by setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you from others, but rather they are parameters that define how you expect to be treated. They communicate to others what is acceptable and what is not. When someone crosses those boundaries intentionally, they have shown you that they are not respecting your personal space, your feelings, or your values. At this point, you must ask yourself a very fundamental question: is this relationship worth continuing? If the person was able to hurt you once, are they likely to do it again? In most cases, the answer is yes. People who hurt others intentionally often follow patterns of behavior, and unless there is a profound and visible change, it is unwise to believe they will treat you differently the next time. That's why discernment is key. It's not about being unforgiving or harsh, it's about being wise. Wisdom teaches us that we must protect our hearts, our peace, and our well-being. Relationships are meant to nurture, uplift, and support, not tear us down or cause us harm. When someone deliberately chooses to hurt you, they are revealing their true nature. Believe what they have shown you. We often want to see the best in others, but when someone has demonstrated that they are willing to hurt you, it's a sign that they do not value the relationship in the same way you do. Therefore, it is crucial to make decisions based on what is best for your well-being. Letting go of someone who has intentionally caused you pain is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength and self-respect. It is understanding that you deserve better and that you are worthy of relationships that honor and respect you. Protecting yourself from further harm is not about holding a grudge or refusing to forgive. It's about ensuring that you don't allow yourself to be hurt again by someone who has already proven they are capable of doing so. Choosing not to give someone a second chance after they've intentionally hurt you is an act of wisdom. It is a declaration that you value yourself too much to tolerate disrespect or harm. You are teaching others how to treat you by the standards you set. And those standards should reflect your worth, your dignity, and your peace. Setting strong personal boundaries is one of the most important things you can do to protect yourself from harm. Boundaries serve as clear lines that define where your personal values, emotional well-being, and sense of self-respect begin and end. They are not just about keeping people out. They are about ensuring that the people who are allowed into your life understand how to treat you with the dignity and care you deserve. Especially when someone has hurt you intentionally, having firm boundaries is critical to safeguarding your emotional and mental health. When someone crosses your boundaries with the intention of causing harm, it signals a fundamental lack of respect. This is not a situation that can be taken lightly. Allowing someone who deliberately disrespects your boundaries to remain in your life without consequence can lead to ongoing emotional damage. That's why setting boundaries is not only about protecting yourself in the moment, but also about preventing future harm. Boundaries communicate your expectations to others in a relationship. They let people know what behaviors are acceptable and what will not be tolerated. For example, if someone has hurt you with cruel words or betrayed your trust, setting a boundary might mean telling them that you will not tolerate such behavior again, and if it happens, there will be consequences, whether that's distancing yourself from them or ending the relationship altogether. The key to boundaries is clarity. They must be clearly defined and clearly communicated both to yourself and to others. It's important to understand that setting boundaries is not selfish or cruel. In fact, it's an act of self-love and self-respect. Too often people hesitate to establish boundaries because they fear being seen as harsh or unforgiving. But the truth is, boundaries are about preserving your well-being, not about punishing others. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, that's a reflection of their inability to honor who you are, and it becomes necessary for you to protect yourself from their behavior. When someone has hurt you intentionally, one of the first things you must do is reassess the boundaries you have in place. Were they clear enough? Did the person fully understand the line they crossed? And if they did, was the boundary enforced? If your boundaries were not firm or clearly communicated, it becomes difficult for others to know what is acceptable. However, once you've established those boundaries and someone still chooses to cross them, it becomes a matter of intentional disrespect. And that is where you must make decisive choices for your own well-being. It's also important to realize that boundaries are not just about keeping others in check, they are also about teaching you how to respond to mistreatment. When someone intentionally crosses your boundaries, it's not enough to just feel hurt. You must take action to protect yourself. This may mean distancing yourself from that person, limiting your interactions, or even cutting ties completely. Whatever the action, it must be aligned with your commitment to valuing yourself and ensuring that you are treated with the respect you deserve. Another aspect of boundaries is that they help you maintain emotional and mental clarity. When boundaries are weak or non-existent, you often find yourself in a constant state of confusion, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. This is because you are allowing people to encroach on your personal space, draining you of the energy and peace that should be reserved for yourself. Boundaries create a sense of order in your relationships. They allow you to clearly see who respects you and who doesn't. Without them, you're left vulnerable to manipulation, mistreatment, and ongoing harm. Now let's talk about the importance of enforcing your boundaries once they are set. It's one thing to tell someone, you can't treat me this way, but it's entirely different to follow through with actions when that line is crossed again. If someone intentionally hurts you and you do not enforce the boundary you've set, They will continue to believe that their behavior is acceptable. You must have the courage to take action when boundaries are violated, even if that action feels difficult in the moment. People who deliberately cross your boundaries often do so because they believe there will be no real consequences. They test your limits, waiting to see how far they can go before you react. But once you stand firm and show that you will not tolerate intentional harm, they are forced to make a choice. Either they begin to respect your boundaries or they remove themselves from your life. Either outcome is a win for you because you've taken a stand for your own dignity and well-being. It's also essential to understand that boundaries are not static. They evolve as you grow and as your relationships change. A boundary that was once sufficient may need to be strengthened if someone continues to push against it. Your boundaries should always be reflective of where you are in your life and what you need to maintain your peace and emotional health. As you become more aware of your own needs and values, your boundaries will naturally become clearer and firmer. In relationships, both personal and professional, boundaries are what keep you grounded. They ensure that you do not lose yourself in the process of trying to maintain a relationship with someone who does not value you. When someone hurts you intentionally, it is a signal that your boundaries need to be revisited and reinforced. It's not about shutting people out, but about ensuring that only those who truly respect you are allowed to remain close to you. At the end of the day, setting and maintaining boundaries is a powerful way to protect your heart, your mind, and your spirit from further harm. It's about ensuring that your relationships are healthy, supportive, and rooted in mutual respect. When someone has hurt you intentionally, it's not enough to forgive and forget. You must establish boundaries that protect you from future harm and send a clear message that you will not tolerate disrespect or mistreatment. Boundaries are your way of honoring yourself, and they are essential for maintaining your emotional and mental well-being. Forgiveness is often seen as a crucial part of healing, and in many ways it is. It allows you to release the anger, bitterness, and resentment that can take hold of your heart after you've been hurt. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the emotional weight of the situation rather than carrying the burden of what was done to you. However, while forgiveness is powerful and essential for your own peace, it does not mean that you have to let the person who hurt you back into your life. This distinction is important because people often confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. When someone hurts you intentionally, the natural response might be to cut ties, to remove that person from your life entirely. But over time, as you work through the pain, you may come to a point where forgiveness feels like the right path. Forgiving the person who hurt you doesn't mean that what they did was acceptable. It simply means that you are choosing not to let their actions continue to control your emotions and your state of mind. It's an internal decision to let go of the negative emotions attached to that person and to what they did. Reconciliation is a completely different matter. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself. Reconciliation, on the other hand, involves the other person. It requires trust, understanding, and mutual respect, none of which can happen if the person who hurt you hasn't changed. You can forgive someone and still choose not to allow them back into your life. This is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of wisdom. When someone has shown a pattern of harmful behavior, letting them back into your life without clear signs of genuine change only sets you up for more pain. One of the key reasons reconciliation isn't always the right step is because the person who hurt you may not have truly changed. Apologies can be given easily, but words without action mean nothing. True change comes from deep reflection, remorse, and a commitment to becoming better. If the person who hurt you is only offering empty apologies or trying to minimize their actions, they have not demonstrated the kind of growth needed for reconciliation to be safe or beneficial. This is why it's crucial to observe actions rather than just listen to words. People often feel pressure to reconcile because they've forgiven someone, but forgiveness is not a free pass for the other person to return to the same place in your life they once occupied. When someone has hurt you, they've broken a trust that will take time, if not a lifetime, to rebuild. Even if you forgive them, it's perfectly okay to decide that you no longer want that person in your life. Forgiveness is about your healing, but allowing someone back into your life involves protecting your heart and your future. In some cases, the person who hurt you may never change. They may not fully understand the depth of the pain they caused, or they may not care to. Some people lack the emotional intelligence or the empathy to recognize how their actions affect others. When this is the case, trying to reconcile with them only sets you up for more harm. It's like touching a hot stove over and over again, expecting not to get burned the next time. Wisdom teaches us to avoid situations that have already proven to be dangerous or painful. Another thing to keep in mind is that reconciliation often requires both parties to come to the table with open hearts and minds, ready to do the work to restore the relationship. But if the person who hurt you is not interested in doing that work or doesn't see the value in changing their behavior, there's little point in pursuing reconciliation. A relationship restored without mutual effort is a relationship built on shaky ground. It's only a matter of time before the same issues resurface. You also have to consider your own emotional boundaries. Just because you've forgiven someone doesn't mean you're ready to have them back in your life. It's possible to forgive and still need time and distance to heal. Sometimes the pain caused by someone's intentional actions runs deep, and no matter how much you've released the negative feelings, you may not be ready to trust that person again. This is perfectly acceptable, and in fact, it's healthy to acknowledge where you are emotionally. Rushing back into a relationship with someone who hurt you before you're ready can reopen wounds that haven't fully healed. Forgiveness is a powerful act of self-care, but reconciliation should never be rushed or done out of a sense of obligation. It's important to recognize that you have the right to protect your peace. Just because you've forgiven someone doesn't mean they deserve to be a part of your life moving forward. Forgiveness doesn't automatically restore broken relationships. It doesn't erase the harm done or guarantee that the person has learned from their actions. And it certainly doesn't mean you should expose yourself to further hurt just for the sake of keeping the peace. In essence, forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the chains of bitterness and anger. It allows you to move on from the hurt without letting it consume you. But reconciliation is a much more complex and delicate process. It involves the other person taking responsibility, showing genuine remorse, and making tangible efforts to change. If these elements are missing, reconciliation is not only unnecessary but potentially harmful. You owe it to yourself to protect your heart, your mind, and your well-being. Letting go of bitterness is a beautiful thing, but letting go of people who continually hurt you is equally important. You can forgive them, wish them well from a distance, and still choose not to have them in your life. It's not about being unforgiving or holding a grudge. It's about making wise choices for your own future. Forgiveness is yours to give, but reconciliation is a privilege that must be earned. When someone intentionally hurts you, it's crucial to understand that their actions are a reflection of their character and not your worth. Too often, when people are hurt, they internalize the pain, wondering if they did something wrong to deserve it. They question their value, their actions, and even their existence, thinking that somehow they might have caused the hurt. But here's the truth: intentional harm is a choice made by the person who inflicted it, and it speaks volumes about them, not about you. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. Rather, it is intrinsic, unshakable, and not dependent on anyone else's opinion or actions. One of the most damaging effects of being intentionally hurt is that it can lead to self-doubt and insecurity. When you are hurt by someone, especially someone close to you, it can make you feel as if you aren't worthy of love, respect, or care. The pain inflicted can be so deep that it causes you to question everything about yourself, from your abilities to your attractiveness to your very identity. But this is where the healing process must begin, by separating yourself from the actions of the person who hurt you. You are not responsible for someone else's choice to harm you. Whether they betrayed you, lied to you, or acted in ways designed to cause you pain, their actions are a reflection of who they are. Some people act out of their own insecurities, anger, or unresolved issues. They may have patterns of hurting others because they themselves are damaged, or because they lack the emotional maturity to deal with their own struggles in a healthy way. But none of this changes the fact that their decision to hurt you is a choice they made, and it's on them, not. This distinction is vital for healing. Once you understand that the hurtful behavior came from the other person's flaws, you can start to detach your self-worth from the pain they caused. You may feel sadness, anger, or even grief over what happened, but you can also remind yourself that your worth is intact. You are still deserving of love, respect, and kindness. You are still valuable, regardless of how someone else treated you. This is not to say that we are immune to the emotional impact of being hurt. Of course, when someone harms you, it hurts. But recognizing that their actions are not a reflection of your value is what will allow you to heal. When you realize that their behavior is about their own issues, it becomes easier to separate the hurt from your sense of self. You are not defined by the way others treat you, especially when that treatment is rooted in their own dysfunction or brokenness. Another key aspect of understanding this concept is realizing that people often project their own internal battles onto others. If someone is deeply unhappy, insecure, or bitter, they might lash out at those around them. Their intention to hurt you may come from their inability to deal with their own pain, and rather than facing it, they project it outward. While this doesn't excuse their behavior, it helps explain why their actions are a reflection of their inner world, not of your worth. In other words, their treatment of you says more about what is going on inside them than it does about who you are. You can see this dynamic in many toxic relationships. The person doing the hurting may be struggling with issues such as low self-esteem, jealousy, or anger, and rather than dealing with these feelings constructively, they take them out on others. They may manipulate, criticize, or belittle you to make themselves feel better. But this behavior is a reflection of their own unresolved issues. It's not an indication that you are inadequate or unworthy. In some cases, people hurt others because they seek to control them. They may feel threatened by your success, your independence, or your happiness, and they try to tear you down as a way to maintain control. This is particularly true in relationships where one person feels insecure about their own life and tries to undermine the other's sense of confidence and self-worth. But again, this behavior is a reflection of their own fears and insecurities, not a reflection of who you are. Understanding that intentional harm is a reflection of the person who inflicted it frees you from the burden of self-blame. It allows you to begin the process of healing without taking on the false narrative that somehow you are at fault for being hurt. It enables you to recognize that the person who hurt you has their own issues and their actions came from a place of dysfunction within them. Once you separate your self-worth from the actions of others, you can start to rebuild your confidence and your sense of identity. You can remind yourself of your strengths, your achievements, and the qualities that make you uniquely valuable. You can also set clear boundaries to protect yourself from further harm. When someone has shown you that they are willing to hurt you intentionally, you must take steps to safeguard your well-being, knowing that their actions were never about your worth, but about their own inability to act with integrity and kindness. By understanding that someone's hurtful actions are a reflection of their character and not your worth, you take back the power that their behavior tried to strip away. You reclaim your identity, knowing that you are valuable, worthy, and deserving of respect, no matter what anyone else does. This awareness is key to healing moving forward and ensuring that you never let someone else's choices define who you are. In closing, the journey of healing from intentional hurt is a profound one that requires both courage and wisdom. Remember that forgiveness is a powerful tool for your own peace of mind, allowing you to release the burdens of anger and resentment. However, it does not obligate you to reconcile with those who have intentionally harmed you. It's essential to recognize that their actions reflect their character, not your worth. You are deserving of love, respect, and happiness, regardless of what anyone else may have done. Protecting your heart and setting healthy boundaries is not an act of revenge, it is an act of self-preservation and self-love. You owe it to yourself to ensure that your inner peace is safeguarded and that you surround yourself with individuals who uplift and encourage you. As you navigate through this process, remember that your worth is intrinsic and unwavering. Let go of the belief that you are defined by the actions of others. Instead, embrace the truth that you have the power to create your own narrative, one that celebrates your strength, resilience, and capacity for growth. It is not about denying the hurt or minimizing the pain you've experienced, but rather about choosing to rise above it. By letting go of what no longer serves you and focusing on your healing journey, you are not only reclaiming your power, but also opening the door to new possibilities and relationships that honor and respect who you are. So stand firm in your worth, forgive for your own sake, and be wise in choosing who you allow back into your life. Your journey is just beginning, and with each step you are moving closer to the life you deserve, one filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. Thank you.